So far we have just discussed about power across LCR circuit, and we have derived the average power for LCR circuit in the form of RMS voltage and RMS current and power factor cos phi. Now we discuss about individual circuit, resistive circuit, capacitive circuit and inductive circuit separately, and then calculate power. Then we will conclude that how AC supply behaves across LCR circuit. Sometimes its power becomes zero, sometimes its power becomes maximum. So, as we have already discussed that power across resistive circuit will be maximum. Why? Because phase difference between AC voltage, alternating voltage and alternating current is zero. That is phi equal to zero. So cos phi equal to 1. And therefore, average power ERMS into IRMS, here EV means V for virtual. Virtual value is called effective value of alternating current or average value of alternating current. So here we say RMS value, root mean square value of alternating EMF and root mean square value of in your textbook, in place of V, there must have been written RMS, and here also RMS. So you must learn like that. And here V stands for virtual. Virtual and RMS are same. So here average power across LCR circuit is given as ERMS into IRMS into cos phi. So far we know that across resistive circuit, value of phi is 0. Therefore, ERMS into IRMS into cos 0 equal to ERMS into IRMS. That is maximum power dissipated across resistor in the LCR circuit. Now, next circuit is inductive circuit. Now let us check out what happens to the power supply to the inductive circuit. As we have already discussed that the phase difference between current and voltage across inductive circuit is pi by 2 radian. We have already discussed that in inductive circuit, current lag behind the voltage by a phase difference of pi by 2 radian, that is phi equal to minus pi by 2. So average power across inductive circuit equal to ERMS into IRMS into cos phi equal to ERMS into IRMS into cos minus pi by 2, and cos minus pi by 2 equal to 0. Therefore, we get average power 0 across inductive circuit. So here we concluded that although there is current present in the inductive circuit or across the inductor, current is there, but no power is dissipated. And such current is called wattless current, because current is present there in the circuit, but giving no power. Now, next, similarly, in case of capacitive circuit, we have learned that current across the capacitive circuit leads the voltage by a phase difference of pi by 2, and that's why value of phi will be plus pi by 2 radian, and hence average power across the capacitive circuit will be ERMS into IRMS into cos phi equal to ERMS IRMS and into cos pi by 2, and cos pi by 2 equal to 0. Therefore, whole value of average power is 0 across. So we have concluded that If we observe individually inductive circuit, capacitive circuit, and resistive circuit, we see that power dissipated across resistor only, and no power is dissipated across inductor or across capacitors. So although there is current across inductor and capacitor, so we see here current is there but power is zero. So wattless current is said to be existing there across inductor and capacitor. And what full current will be there across resistor, because across resistor power dissipated, 100% power dissipated across the resistor. Maximum power is ampere across the resistor. Now, if you add up power, net power dissipated across LCR circuit, then you must add up the power dissipated across capacitor, power dissipated across inductor, and power dissipated across resistor. So you will find that 0 plus 0 plus 0. Now 0 plus 0 plus ERMS into IRMS equal to ERMS into IRMS. So we have concluded that average power dissipated across the LCR circuit is just equal to product of RMS value of voltage supplied by the AC source and RMS value of current flowing through the LCR circuit. Now let us check out a phasor diagram for LCR circuit and then we correlate with the power. Here we see across resistive circuit, current and voltage are in the same phase. Therefore, phasor representing voltage and current will coincide together. So here we see red arrow indicates the phasor of current and blue arrow represents phasor of alternating voltage. Therefore, these two arrow indicates the phasor of voltage and current across resistor. Now let us check out the voltage across inductor and capacitor. We know that across inductor, current lag behind the voltage by a phase difference of phi, and across capacitor, you see here, this is the current, mean current. You know well that average current across LCR circuit and average voltage, RMS voltage and RMS current across LCR circuit differ by a phase difference of phi. So we take the component of phasor vector IV either along the direction of phasor of voltage and perpendicular to the direction of phasor of voltage. Okay, so try to understand. Now, and this component IV is perpendicular to this one, and this will be IV sin phi, and this will be IV cos phi. So one of the component of RMS value of current across LCR circuit is along the phasor of voltage, and other component is perpendicular to the phasor of voltage. Now check out the component IV cos phi generates power. So this component generates power because IV cos phi into EV, that is IRMS into cos phi, is a component of effective value of current across LCR circuit. So the product of this component and ERMS voltage generates power, but product of this component and Product of this component perpendicular to the phasor of the voltage, gives no power. So, however, the component IV sin phi or IRMS sin phi does not contribute to the power along ERMS, and hence power generated is zero. And this component of current is called wattless or idle current. So, got it well. When you resolve the phasor of current along the phasor of voltage and perpendicular to the phasor of voltage, then component of current along the phasor of voltage produce power which is non-zero. So this component is called watt full current. This component is called watt full current, that is IV cos phi or IRMS cos phi, called watt full current. On the other hand, the component of current perpendicular to the phasor of the voltage contributes nothing to the power. That's why this components of current is called wattless current or idle current. So I think that all of you have got it well, what is wattless current and what is watt full current. So here we see power equal to ERMS into IRMS into sin phi into cos 90 degree, because angle between this phasor and this phasor is equal to 90 degrees. So we have taken here cos phi 90 degree. So overall this value equal to 0. So this is called wattless current. So we have got watt full current and wattless current. A component of current, component of phasor vector of current along the phasor of voltage is called watt full current, and component of current, phasor of current perpendicular to the phasor of voltage is called wattless current. Now power or energy is not dissipated in the inductor or capacitor, and hence they find a lot of practical application and hence device using alternating current. As we have seen that capacitor or inductor does not consume power or dissipate power like resistor. That's why these two circuit elements, which is basic circuit elements, are used for various purpose, even for interpreting the logical operation like computer and Android phone and all the robotic circuit, and everywhere inductive and capacitive circuits becomes dominant because it does not consume any power, but it converts the form of energy or signal from electrical to electromagnetic and so on. And even these two components can store the electrical energy in other form and can be used for future purpose or later. Now, so far we have discussed about the LCR circuit and phasor representation of current and voltage across the LCR circuit, and ultimately average power across the LCR circuit and resonance state of LCR circuit. Now we are going to deal with the LC circuit. That means a circuit consisting of only inductor and capacitor and no source power and no AC supply connected to this. So first of all, we will take a complete full charge capacitor connected with an inductor in series and no AC supply is there. What will happen? You will see that full charge capacitor will discharge across inductor. That is, capacitor stores electrical energy or electric charge in it, and when it is connected across inductor, this charge will flow to inductor, and as charge flow from capacitor to inductor, it is just like electric current, and when it enters into the inductors, it get converted into magnetic energy. So electrical energy converted into magnetic energy. Here electrical energy is stored in the capacitor, and as soon as this energy is transferred to inductor, it get converted into magnetic energy. when whole of the electrical energy from the capacitor transferred to the inductor, again inductor starts discharging and electrical magnetic energy is now being transferred to capacitor in the form of electrical energy. And as during this transformation, there is no power dissipation because we know that voltage and current differ by a phase difference of pi by 2 radian. That's why average power dissipated is zero. So, conversion of magnetic energy and electrical energy keeps on oscillating across capacitor and inductor. And that's why such circuit is called oscillating circuit, or simply we say LC oscillations. That means a special electric circuit consisting of capacitor and inductor connected in series with no power supply. Then whatever energy is there on capacitor will oscillates across inductor in the form of magnetic energy, and then from inductor to capacitor in the form of electric energy. In this way, electrical energy and magnetic energy keeps on oscillating across each other periodically, just like in case of mechanical oscillation, gravitational potential energy transform into kinetic energy, and then kinetic energy transform into potential energy when uh, oscillating bob moves from mean position to extreme position. At extreme position, whole energy associated with the bob transformed into potential energy, and then again from potential energy to kinetic energy, and when this bob come to the mean position, whole potential energy converted into kinetic energy and then moves towards the next extreme and ultimately converted into the again gravitational potential energy and so on. Similarly, here we see that electrical energy and magnetic energy keeps on oscillating, and total sum of energy across inductor and capacitor at any instant of time remains constant. And such circuit is called LC circuit, that is circuit consisting of capacitor and inductor connected in series with each other, and energy stored across a capacitor is electrical in nature, and this energy dissipated or transformed into magnetic energy when it reaches to the inductor, and when capacitor discharge completely, then inductor stores almost all energy in the bulk of it, and then this energy again discharged to the capacitor in the form of electrical energy. So electrical energy and magnetic energy keeps on oscillating, and such oscillation is called LC oscillation, and circuit itself is called LC circuit. Just like LCR circuit, we are having LC circuit, and we can get the state of resonance because here net impedance across the LC circuit will be sum of capacitive reactance and inductive reactance. That is net resistance offered by this circuit is just equal to XC plus XL. That is net impedance Z equal to XC plus XL, and this sum will be frequency dependent. So here impedance in LC circuit is purely frequency dependent, and at any instant of time its impedance could be zero, and that instant the circuit is said to be in resonant state, and circuit is said to be oscillating with resonance frequency, and value of resonant frequency will be just equal to 1 upon root under L into C. So we see here, we have started from here, we have taken a capacitor which is initially fully charged, consisting of charge Q naught over 8, and now this capacitor is connected with an inductor with inductance L. Then this charge will start discharging across the inductor, and when there is zero charge over capacitor, then total energy is transformed into magnetic energy across the inductor, and now this inductor again discharge or transfer magnetic energy to the capacitor in the form of electrical energy and so on. So you see here at time t equal to 0, total energy is appearing over the capacitor. And at the time t equal to 0, total energy across inductor, that is magnetic energy, is 0 at time t equal to 0. As time passes, at time t equal to t by 8, that where capital T is the time period. So at time t equal to t by 8, electrical energy just becomes equal to magnetic energy. And at time t by 4, electrical energy becomes 0 and magnetic energy becomes maximum. Now there is no charge over this capacitor. So almost all electrical energy is transformed across the inductor. Now at time 3t by 4 or 3t by 8, you can say here, again electrical energy and magnetic energy becomes equal to one another. And at 4t by 8, that is t by 2, after half cycle, again electrical energy becomes maximum and magnetic energy becomes minimum. And now it starts moving in opposite sense. At t equal to 5t by 8, electrical energy and magnetic energy becomes equal. And at 3t by 4, electrical energy becomes 0 and magnetic energy becomes maximum. And at t equal to 7t by 8, electrical energy becomes equal to magnetic energy. And ultimately at t equal to capital T, that is time period, electrical energy again becomes maximum and magnetic energy becomes minimum, that is 0. So we have started from here and ultimately we have reached the same states of the circuit. Then we say that one cycle has been completed. So in one cycle, we see that one time electrical energy across capacitor is maximum, and one time magnetic energy is maximum at across inductor, and one more time electrical energy and magnetic energy becomes maximum. So two times electric energy becomes maximum and magnetic energy becomes maximum, and also two times electric energy and magnetic energy becomes equal to one another. One here you see here it becomes equal, and once again here it becomes equal, once again here it becomes equal, and once again. So altogether there will be 4 times it becomes equal to one another over one cycle, because we have divided time period into 8 part. Therefore half of 8 will be 4. So every time every format will be 4 pairs. So we have all together, and now starting from at time t equal to 0 and reach the t equal to capital T, that is time period. So we have completed one cycle, and in all together in whole cycle there are 8 divisions: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then again starts repetition of the same. So this is called time period. Now LC oscillation could be damping, because we have discussed here ideal LC circuit, but in real circuit there must be some amount of power dissipated because of resistance is there in the inductive coil and capacitors. That's why some of power will be dissipated in real circuit. Therefore initial energy of that is given to the capacitor will go on decreasing, and it will be dissipated in the form of heat, in the heat to the surroundings. So ultimately amplitude of oscillation will go on decreasing. This is the case of ideal oscillation. Here we have assumed that no dissipation of electrical energy is there across the LC circuit. That's why amplitude remains constant as time passes. But in actual practice, real circuit consists of certain amount of resistance across inductors, because wire of inductor or coil of inductor is made up of a material, and a material cannot have zero resistance. So a certain amount of energy that was initially stored over capacitor is now being dissipated in the form of heat and is transferred to the surroundings. That's why amplitude of oscillation will go on decreasing, and this process is called damped oscillation. This is undamped oscillation because amplitude remains same as time passes. But here in real situation, we see that the amplitude will go on decreasing, and ultimately amplitude becomes zero and oscillation will get vanished. Certain situation, let us check out. If Q be the charge on the capacitor at n instant of time t, and di by dt is the rate of change of current, because current is changing, alternating supply is there. So now voltage across capacitor will be charge divided by capacitance, that is q divided by c, and voltage across inductor will be L into di by dt. We have already learned there. So minus L into di by dt and minus q by c. So according to Kirchhoff's law, Kirchhoff's loop rule, applying Kirchhoff's loop rule, net sum of voltage across LC circuit at any instant of time must be zero. So here, sum of voltage across inductor, this term is called VL and this term is called VC. And as we know that I equal to dq by dt, so placing the value of I, current here, we get here d square q by dt square plus q by c, and here we get here, and dividing both sides by L, so we get here d square q by dt square plus q upon LC equal to 0. And this is well differential form of equation or harmonic equation. This is differential form of uh, equation representing LC oscillation or SHM. So placing, as here we see that Q is the variable quantity. So 1 upon LC can be equated with omega squared, that is angular frequency. So our format of differential equation is d square q by dt square plus omega square q equal to 0. And so here we see that omega square equal to 1 by LC. So omega equal to 1 upon root LC. This is called resonance frequency or simply frequency of oscillation. So final equation represents a simple harmonic equation or represents oscillation, simple harmonic motion of the oscillations, and with omega as angular frequency and omega equal to 1 upon root under LC, and linear frequency equal to 1 upon 2 pi into root under LC. So we have learned about LC oscillation and damped oscillation, and you know well that if we minimize the resistance of LC circuit, then damping amount will go on decreasing, but we cannot decrease the damping factor up to the 0. That's why if something is oscillating, then we have to feed energy to dissipate or compensate the loss of energy across the LC circuit. That's why if you are having a digital watch or oscillating watch, clock, pendulum, wall clock, you must have seen that after certain interval of time, your clock slow down, giving not accurate time, because battery given there, which compensates the loss of energy during oscillation, is now discharged completely. That's why that time given by that clock is not accurate. Now, last topic of this chapter is transformer. We have already discussed that transformer is a device that works on the principle of mutual induction, and it basically converts high voltage and low current as input into high current and low voltage as output. So a power generator supply the current at high voltage and low current, but when it comes to the consumer point, is then converted into high current and low voltage for the purpose of use. And this purpose is met by the device called transformer. Transformer transform a power supply of high voltage and low current into high current and low voltage. So we see this is the a block diagram of transformer, and only 9 minutes almost left the time. So within that time, we have to finish these topics. So you know well that a transformer is a device which converts lower alternating voltage at higher current into higher alternating voltage at lower current. This is the best definition of the transformer. Now we have to discuss about the principle of transformer. This is the block diagram of transformer here. This coil is called input coil or primary coil, and this coil is called secondary coil or output coil, and these two coil is coupled together with a ferromagnetic substance like iron. So this is the block diagram of iron, and this iron is not a single solid iron but is in the form of plates, rectangular plates, and is separated by one another with the help of insulating material like mica. We will discuss why it is done so. Now principle, on what principle transformer work. A transformer is based on a principle of mutual induction. As soon as there is a mutual induction, so there must be a two coils. One coil will be supplied with the AC source, and other coil will be obtained as induced EMF across it due to variation in the primary coil, due to variation in the supply in current in the primary coil. So it is the phenomenon of inducing EMF in the secondary coil due to the change in current in the primary coil, and hence change in the magnetic flux. It's transferred to the secondary coil. Magnetic flux changes in the primary coil, but it is now transferred to the secondary coil via or through the rectangular ferromagnetic substance, because these two coils are coupled together with the help of this rectangular ferromagnetic substance. Now question is, theoretical aspect of this transformer is now being described here. So far we have discussed that induced EMF appear across the coil is directly proportional to rate of change of magnetic flux across the coil, according to Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. So here EMF induced in the primary coil due to variation of supply current, because supply current is alternating current, so it keeps on changing continuously in the magnitude as well as in the polarity. That's why due to variation of its own current, a current EMF get induced in the primary coil is given as minus NP into d phi by dt, where NP is the number of turns in the primary coil. So, and now similarly, this change in magnetic flux is now transferred through this way. How? You know well that when current changes by the AC supply gives the alternating current to the primary coil, and this current is changing continuously. Therefore, flux linked with this coil changes continuously, and now this flux, you can say the magnetic field produced due to change in due to current in the primary coil is now transferred to this coil like this. because this magnetic field will not diverge out the surroundings, but it will uh, transfer like this into this. So flux will be changed here. And because of changing flux into the secondary coil, EMF will appear into the secondary coil, across the secondary coil. So similarly, EMF induced in the secondary coil is given as E equal to minus Ns d phi by dt, because Ns is the number of turns in the secondary coil, and flux amount of rate of change of flux will be same. D phi by dt will be same for both, because magnetic field is associated with them, will remain same, because same current is causing magnetic field here and here. Only difference will be there, that number of turns will increase the flux, and if number of turns in both the coil is same, the same amount of flux will be changing there. So dividing these two expression, we get ES to EP, that is EMF induced in the secondary coil to that induced in the primary coil, is just equal to NS to NP equal to K, that is constant. So we see that ratio of EMF induced in the primary coil due to variation of current in it, and that produced in the secondary coil due to change in flux because of the primary coil, is just equal to ratio of number of turns in the secondary coil to that in the primary coil, and remains constant as long as the number of turns in the coil remains constant. Therefore, where K is itself is called transformation ratio. Sometimes we define transformation ratio as output power, ratio of output power to input power as a transformation ratio. And this can also be expressed as ratio of EMF induced in the secondary coil to that in the primary coil, and also equal to ratio of number of turns of the secondary coil to that in primary coil, and this remains constant. Once transformer is designed and framed, its transformation ratio becomes constant. And this transformation ratio sometimes also called turn ratio. And now come to the point, for an ideal transformer, we have to calculate efficiency of transformer. Efficiency of transformer is basically defined as that whatever input is given to it, what percentage of input does it convert as output, and this is called efficiency. If it converts maximum as output, then it is said to be have of higher efficiency. So we know that power given as input to the primary coil is just equal to EMF induced in the primary coil into current flowing through the primary coil, and product of EMF and current is just equal to power. So for an ideal situation, that is during transformation, no power is dissipated, then power given to the input coil must be equal to power given as output. So ES into IS is the output power, that is power across the secondary coil, and EP into IP, power across the primary coil. So this must be equal. This is valid only for ideal transformer. But in real situation, there is no ideal transformer. Every transformer will have certain amount of resistance present there, due to which some amount of input will be dissipated as heat and sound. And hence it cannot give 100% as output. Therefore, first we consider as ideal, and then we will come to the real transformer. So here we see ratio of EMF induced in the secondary coil to EMF induced in the primary coil is just equal to ratio of current in the primary coil to that in secondary coil. So we see here that EMF induced in the secondary coil is inversely proportional to current flowing through the secondary coil. And this is also called transformation ratio or turns ratio. So here once again we get another relation, turns ratio or transformation ratio. Transformation ratio is just reverse if it is expressed in terms of current. So far we have discussed about that transformation ratio is just equal to a ratio of induced EMF in secondary coil to that in primary coil, and is also equal to ratio of number of turns in the secondary coil to that in primary coil. But in case of current, it is just equal to ratio of current in the primary coil to that in secondary coil. So we have got the this expression as turn ratio or transformation ratio. And now efficiency of transformer is defined as the ratio of output power to that of input power, and is expressed in percentage. So when ratio of output power to input power multiplied by 100, then we get efficiency of transformer in percentage. So for an ideal transformer, output power and input power will be equal. Therefore, for an